Hey there, welcome back. Now we're going to be talking a little bit about politics. So when we're looking at politics, we're looking at the government or formal organizations that have the authority to make, to enforce laws. We happen to live in a democracy. Citizens have control over the state and its functions. Individuals get to participate in decisions. Our right to vote is pretty much universal once you turn 18. Our government recognizes individual rights. Everyone should obey the law or they're held accountable. 36% of the world's countries actually ignore these basic rights. So now we might even be looking at like totalitarian governments, dictatorships. This is when the government controls almost every aspect of people's lives. So think Central Africa, think North Korea, Saudi Arabia, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, Iran, Uzbekistan. There's a lot of dictatorships out there. We also have monarchs out there. There's like 40 countries that have monarch, even though some of them are just like in ceremonial name only, but some of them still actually govern. Now, a monarch is the oldest form of authoritarianism, and it's based on hereditary, and it passes from generation to generation in families. Like I said, I think there's like 40 of them in the world. And the functioning ones are mostly like in the Middle East and parts of Africa, where they have complete control over the people and everything that happens in that country. So we can't talk about government, politics, without talking about power. Now, power is the ability of a person or the ability of a group to influence others, even if they resist. So power is relational. That's one big aspect of it. And whether it's legitimate or coercive power, it's about controlling others, especially political power. We also have to examine authority. Now, this is the legitimate use of power. A couple things about authority. People tend to consent and believe it's for the greater good. People see it as necessary. So, think when they impose taxes or, laws that form around national security or that kind of thing. And three, many people accept it because it's institutionalized and we've just been socialized to accept it. So think police departments, government agencies. We just we don't question it. We just fall right in line when it comes to those things. When it comes to that authority. Now Max Weber, a famous sociologist, says there's three types of legitimate authority. So first we have traditional. This is power based on customs and beliefs, ceremonial. Think like kings, queens, that sort of thing. You have charismatic authority. This is where power is based on an exceptional personal abilities or like a calling. Think like Hitler, or even on the other end of that spectrum, think Martin Luther King Jr. Those are examples of the charismatic authority. Then we have the last one Weber talked about was rational legal. So this is power based on rules and laws that are inherent in an elected or appointed office. And this kind of leads us into talking about our own politics, our political parties. So a political party is an organization that tries to influence and control the government by recruiting, nominating, electing its members to public office. Democracies tend to have several parties in place, but the U.S. basically we just go with a two-party system. I know there's probably third, fourth, and fifth party out there, but they're just not a factor in the equation. So moving on through our political parties, we obviously have the major two, the Democrat and Republican Party, and they have some fundamental value differences. When we're looking at the economy, Democrats want to raise taxes on the wealthy in order to fund more social programs or get better health care, where a Republican would say that by not taxing them as much, we're incentivizing them to create more jobs and incentivizing their innovations. When it comes to something like abortion, a Democrat is more pro-choice and seeing a woman's right to choose, where a Republican wants to value that baby's life at all costs, no matter what. So yeah, those are two issues. I mean, if we look at women, Democrats think that there's still an unfair structure that women who have babies should have paid leave and be able to receive more benefits like that, where Republicans would point out that, we've come a long way, and women don't have the same barriers that they used to have. So when it comes to education, Democrats would like to put more money and more funding into our public education system, where a Republican might want to put more money into private education, and so that people have a better choice of where to go to school at. They would say like our system is broken because it doesn't have choices, where a Democrat wants to fund public schools even better. And that may be where they get some of those labels and stereotypes, because public education would be like a socialist concept because our taxes pay for that. Same as police, our roads, things like that. These can be considered socialist aspects. So support of those is often seen that way. It's seen as liberal or Democrat. Democrat would also say that immigrants help our economy, where a Republican would say that immigrants drive down the wages, that sort of thing. So we can see ideologically left and right where Republicans and Democrats fall on a social scale and on a financial scale. These two parties, one of the problems with the two-party system is they're often controlled by special interest groups. This is a group that tries to have influence in order to receive some sort of special treatment. So a PAC is an example of a special interest group. They raise money for candidates to get elected. They pay lobbyists. Lobbyists are hired by special interest groups to try to influence legislation. So yeah, when it comes to that and voting, it's important to take a look at voting and why things turn out the way they do. We're actually ranked number 70 in voter turnout in the world, and there's a lot of reasons that people choose not to vote. A lot of it being apathy, but that's a really problematic thing, I believe, in the United States. So who are the people that vote? Women vote a lot more than men. People over the age of 65 vote a lot more. It seems like the higher level of education you have, the more likely you are to vote. So educated people tend to vote. And the highest racial demographic is native-born white people that vote. And now I'm going to take a little bit of a shift in talking about theories and tell you that in functionalism, they would say that people have the power, and the power is distributed broadly, and leaders speak for the majority of people. So a functionalist likes the system, likes the way it works, that sort of thing. And I'll just throw out a conflict theory there for you. A conflict theorist would say that rich upper class have the power, and that power is distributed to an elite few. They believe that leaders are more interested in personal wealth than the people that they are elected to serve. So that's just a little touch on how the theories can work a little bit different than how we've been applying them throughout the semester. So yeah, we'll see you next time.